Useless. The word cut through the restaurant's elegant ambiance as the businessman's elbow slammed into Tiana's serving tray. Hot coffee erupted across her pristine white uniform. His $10,000 watch glinted as he flicked droplets from his sleeve. Clean this up. Tiana stood frozen, scalding liquid seeping through to her skin. His phone rang. He answered immediately, switching to rapid Mandarin Chinese. The transformation was instant, from dismissive tyrant to smooth negotiator. The call crackled, failed. Wei? Wei? He jabbed at his screen. Worthless connection. Tiana, still dripping coffee, leaned slightly forward and spoke in perfect, crisp Mandarin. Sir, move 3 steps toward the window. The signal strengthens there due to the building's steel infrastructure. The businessman's head snapped up. His eyes widened. Around them, forks hovered midair. Conversations died. Power had shifted. 5:15 a.m. Tiana's alarm pierced the darkness. Her body ached from yesterday's double shift, but her fingers found the off button before it could wake Amara. The apartment was small but tidy. School books stacked neatly. A calendar marked with translation deadlines and work schedules. No empty spaces. In the bathroom mirror, Tiana practiced her smile. Professional, pleasant, invisible. The kind that earned tips without making customers uncomfortable. The kind that kept her employed. Mama? Amara stood in the doorway, rubbing sleep from her eyes. At 10, she already understood their routine. Zhao Shanghao, my sunshine, Tiana said, kissing her daughter's forehead. Their morning greeting Mandarin for good morning, a small rebellion against the world's assumptions. French test today, Amara mumbled, reaching for her toothbrush. Tiana quizzed her while preparing breakfast. Conjugations between toast slices. Vocabulary while packing lunch. The translation agency's latest rejection email glowed on her phone screen, seeking candidates with formal credentials. 5 years of successful freelance work meant nothing without the degree she couldn't afford to complete. You'll get a better client, Mama, Amara said, noticing her mother's frown. Tiana tucked the rejection away with practiced ease. We're doing just fine. They weren't. The rent increase notice sat hidden in Tiana's drawer. The translation work had dried up to almost nothing. The restaurant's new manager had cut her hours, favoring newer, younger servers. They walked to the bus stop together, morning light barely breaking through city buildings. Amara chatted about her science project, switching effortlessly between English, Mandarin, and French languages Tiana had insisted she learn from birth. Remember, your mind is borderless, Tiana told her daughter at the school gate, their daily affirmation. And my worth isn't determined by other people's vision, Amara finished. Tiana watched her daughter disappear into the school building, then checked her watch. 3 hours until her restaurant shift. Just enough time to finish a small translation job that would barely cover groceries. She squared her shoulders and walked faster. Le Château Bleu gleamed with old money opulence. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, real silver place settings that Tiana polished every morning, her reflection distorted in their curves. You're on Section 5 today, Manager Blake announced, not looking up from his tablet. The Jang party canceled their reservation. Tiana's heart sank. Section 5 meant fewer tips, farther from the windows where business deals happened over expensive wines. I've been handling the Zhang account for years, she said. They always request me. Blake glanced up, irritation flashing. Mia's taking over their account when they reschedule. They'll appreciate someone who fits the aesthetic. Mia, 23 and blonde, smiled apologetically from across the room. Not her fault, Tiana knew. The system, not the player. Yes, sir, Tiana said, the words familiar and bitter. The kitchen hummed with pre-lunch preparations. Chef Dominic nodded respectfully as she entered, the only one who valued her ability to translate his French instructions to the kitchen staff. "Your section has the investment bankers today," he warned in French. "The usual suspects. Be invisible except when needed." 5 years at Le Château Bleu had taught Tiana the hierarchy. Which customers wanted attentive service, which preferred to forget servers existed, which might snap at her for the smallest perceived error. She checked her appearance one final time. Hair pulled back severely, makeup minimal, name tag perfectly straight. Nothing that called attention, nothing that threatened. The restaurant doors opened precisely at 11:30 a.m. Tiana took her position, hands clasped, spine straight, face neutral, ready to navigate the invisible obstacle course of serving people who would never see her as an equal, ready to be unseen. Andrew Lee stepped out of his Bentley, tossing the keys to the valet without a glance. His mind was already in the meeting room, calculating angles, rehearsing his pitch to the Beijing investors. $20 million on the line. A technology merger that would put his company years ahead of competitors. "They landed 30 minutes ago," his assistant said, materializing beside him with practiced precision. Mr. Zhao was pleased with the hotel arrangements. "And the contract revisions?" Andrew barely broke stride. "Completed and translated. Though our translator flagged some potential cultural issues with Section 12, Andrew waved dismissively. "We pay legal to handle those details. Focus on getting me that meeting room at Le Château. Nothing says guaranteed success like throwing money at an overpriced lunch." The restaurant's manager greeted him with the deference his net worth commanded. Hands were shaken. Pleasantries exchanged. The best table already reserved was confirmed again, unnecessarily. "Your usual McAllen will be waiting, Mr. Lee," the manager assured him. "And I've assigned our most discreet server." Andrew nodded, satisfied. He'd built his fortune by recognizing patterns others missed, exploiting inefficiencies, and never, ever, wasting time on irrelevant details. People were assets, or obstacles. Today, the Beijing investors were potential assets. Everyone else was backdrop. His phone vibrated, his personal banker. Another successful acquisition in his portfolio. Numbers that would allow him to buy another vacation property he'd rarely visit. "Confirm the trade," he instructed, ending the call as he approached the restaurant entrance. He straightened his tie, mentally shifting from English to Mandarin. Success today meant performing the perfect cultural dance, American efficiency, with just enough Chinese respect for tradition. Andrew Lee entered the restaurant like he entered every room, certain it existed for his benefit. Tiana moved efficiently between tables, invisible as good service should be. Water glasses refilled before emptied. Plates removed the moment they were finished. Her eyes caught everything while appearing to notice nothing, including the fact that Andrew Lee had arrived early, before his Chinese guests. "Your table is ready, Mr. Lee," Blake said, leading the millionaire to the best spot in the restaurant center of the room but near the windows, perfectly positioned to convey power. Tiana knew the protocol. Wait 90 seconds after seating. Approach from the right. Offer water without asking. Have the wine list ready. She timed her approach perfectly, placing the crystal water glass just as Andrew spread documents across the white tablecloth. "Good afternoon, sir. May I bring you dash?" Andrew's sudden movement to reach for his phone caught her off guard. His elbow connected with her serving tray. The water pitcher tilted. Crystal tumbled. Coffee from another cup on her tray splashed across white linen and onto his leather briefcase. "Useless!" he snapped, jumping up. "You spilled it on my briefcase!" Every head in the restaurant turned. Tiana felt heat rush to her face as she quickly placed down her tray and grabbed napkins. "I'll clean this immediately, sir." "I apologize for—" "Just get it done." He cut her off, already shifting attention to his now ringing phone. He answered in rapid Mandarin, his tone transforming instantly to warm professionalism. Tiana absorbed his words automatically as she mopped up the spill. He was reassuring the caller about meeting locations, apologizing for confusion. The connection crackled. Andrew's expression tightened. Wei? Wei? He pulled the phone from his ear, tapping the screen in frustration. Worthless connection! Tiana could hear the tinny voice still coming through the speaker, confused and concerned. Without thinking, she straightened and spoke in perfect, precise Mandarin. Sir, if you move 3 steps toward the window, the signal will improve. The building's steel infrastructure creates a dead zone exactly where you're standing. She added, still in Mandarin, Your caller is asking about transportation from their hotel. They sound concerned about being late. The restaurant fell silent. Andrew froze, phone half raised to his ear. His eyes, really seeing her for the first time, widened in disbelief. From the phone came a surprised voice. Who was that? She's absolutely correct about our question. Tiana stepped back, suddenly aware she had shattered her invisibility. She switched to English, voice professional again. Excuse me, sir. I'll bring fresh napkins for the spill. But Andrew Lee was staring at her as though seeing a ghost, or a revelation. Wait. Andrew's command stopped Tiana mid-step. He moved toward the window as she had suggested, resuming his call in Mandarin. The connection cleared immediately. Andrew's eyes remained fixed on Tiana as he spoke, explaining the situation to his investors, who now sounded intrigued rather than concerned. Through the open phone line, Tiana could hear their questions clearly. Who was that woman? Is she part of your team? A fortuitous resource, Andrew replied smoothly in Mandarin. I'll introduce you when you arrive. He ended the call but remained standing, studying Tiana with recalibrating interest. Your Mandarin is exceptional, he said, switching back to English. Regional dialect, northern accent, educated not street-learned. Tiana maintained her professional demeanor. Thank you, sir. Would you prefer still or sparkling water with your meal today? Several nearby diners were openly watching now. Blake appeared at Tiana's side, nervousness radiating from him in waves. Mr. Lee, I deeply apologize for this incident. If you'd prefer another server... No. Andrew cut him off. She stays. Blake blinked, confused. Of course, sir. Whatever you prefer. The manager retreated, throwing a warning glance at Tiana. A clear message. Don't make this worse. How many languages do you speak? Andrew asked, returning to his seat but leaving the documents untouched. 5 fluently, sir, Tiana answered automatically. English, Mandarin, Cantonese, French, and Spanish. I have conversational Japanese as well. A woman at the next table whispered loudly to her companion, Did you hear that? The server. Andrew's gaze hadn't left Tiana's face. Interesting. Very interesting. A subtle shift had occurred. The power dynamics of the room had rearranged, invisible tectonic plates sliding beneath the social surface. Tiana felt it. Andrew sensed it. The restaurant patrons witnessed it. I'll return shortly to take your complete order, sir, Tiana said, stepping back into her role, trying to restore the comfortable boundaries. But as she turned toward the kitchen, she knew something fundamental had changed. For once, she had been seen. In the kitchen, Chef Dominic raised an eyebrow. What happened out there? Blake looks like he swallowed a lemon. Nothing, Tiana replied, reaching for a fresh serving tray. Just a spill. It wasn't nothing. They both knew it. Tiana felt Andrew's eyes following her throughout the meal. His Chinese investors had arrived 3 men in impeccable suits who ordered in English, but occasionally slipped into rapid Mandarin when discussing technical details. Each time they did, Andrew glanced at Tiana to see if she was listening. She maintained her professional distance, revealing nothing. More water, gentlemen? She asked during a pause in their conversation. One investor responded in deliberate Mandarin. Your colleague mentioned you speak our language. Where did you learn? Tiana smiled politely, answering in the same tongue. My mother was a professor who specialized in international education. Languages were mandatory in our home. The men exchanged impressed looks. The meal continued with new respect in their interactions with her, small nods of acknowledgement when she appeared with new dishes or cleared empty ones. When the investors departed 2 hours later, Andrew remained seated, making notes on his tablet. Tiana approached to clear the final glasses. "Your party has left, sir. Would you care for anything else?" Andrew set down his tablet. "How long have you worked here?" 5 years, sir." "And before that?" Tiana hesitated. "Various service positions and freelance translation work." "Freelance." Andrew's eyes narrowed slightly. "Not with an agency?" "I work with Blue Horizon translations when they need my language combinations, but mainly independent contracts." "Yet you're serving coffee in a restaurant." The observation stung, but Tiana kept her expression neutral. "Reliable income is important when you have a child to support." Something shifted in Andrew's assessment. "Single parent?" "Yes." He seemed to make a decision. "My company needs a full-time translator and cultural consultant for our Asian market expansion. Specifically, someone with your linguistic profile." Tiana's heart quickened, but experience had taught her caution. "That's an unexpected offer, Mr. Lee." "Not an offer yet. An interview first." He handed her a business card. "Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Blake appeared at the table, smiling obsequiously. "I hope everything was satisfactory, Mr. Lee?" "Your server is extremely competent," Andrew replied without looking at the manager. "I'd like my check now." Tiana slipped the card into her pocket, feeling its edges press against her skin like a key. "You're not seriously considering it," Shanice said, wiping down the bar counter after closing. "Rich guy spills coffee, hears you speak Mandarin, suddenly wants to hire you? That's a setup for disappointment." Tiana examined Andrew's business card. Heavy stock paper, embossed logo, Leeway Technologies, CEO. "It's an interview, not a job offer," she said, but her fingers traced the edge of possibility. "Men like that don't see people like us," Shanice continued. "They see useful tools until we're not useful anymore." The restaurant was empty now, chairs upturned on tables. Blake emerged from the office, coat already on. "Tomorrow's schedule is posted," he announced. "Tiana, I've moved you to Section 3. The window tables need a more experienced touch." "I've worked those tables for 4 years," Tiana said. Blake's smile didn't reach his eyes. "And we appreciate your service. But with Mia taking over the Zhang account, we're restructuring sections." "I heard you speaking Chinese to that businessman," Mia added, appearing from the locker room. "That was amazing. Where did you learn that?" Before Tiana could answer, Blake interjected, "Let's keep our personal histories personal, shall we? This is a workplace, not a networking event." The card felt heavier in Tiana's pocket, the choice more significant. "Actually," she said slowly, "I may need tomorrow morning off." "I have an interview." Blake's eyebrows rose. "Interview? For what position?" "Translation services. For Leeway Technologies. The man whose coffee you spilled?" Blake laughed sharply. "Tiana, be realistic. They have Harvard graduates for those positions. Not Dash." He caught himself. "Not what?" Tiana's voice was quiet. Blake sighed. "Look, be here at 10:30 tomorrow. Don't throw away reliable income-chasing fantasies." Tiana grabbed her coat, the decision crystallizing with each dismissive word. "I'll let you know." Outside, the night air was sharp with approaching autumn. Shanice caught up with her at the bus stop. "You're going to that interview, aren't you?" Tiana watched the traffic lights change. Red to green. Stop to go. "I'm tired of being invisible, Shanice. My daughter deserves to see me try." The bus approached, headlights illuminating possibilities Tiana had long stopped allowing herself to see. Leeway Technologies occupied the top 10 floors of a gleaming downtown tower. The lobby's marble floors reflected Tiana's image as she approached the security desk, Andrew's card in hand. "I have an appointment with Mr. Lee," she said, conscious of her best non-server outfit, a navy blazer and pencil skirt purchased for translation client meetings that rarely materialized anymore. The security guard scanned a tablet. "Miss Wells, 9th floor, executive suite." The elevator ascended silently. Tiana rehearsed potential questions, prepared responses. Her heart hammered against her ribs. The doors opened to reveal a minimalist reception area where a poised woman looked up from her desk. "Miss Wells? Mr. Lee is waiting." Andrew stood when she entered his office, gesturing to a chair opposite his desk. "Thank you for coming," he said, studying her with the same analytical gaze from the restaurant. "Your resume is interesting. Self-taught in 3 languages?" Tiana placed her portfolio on the desk. "Self-directed, not self-taught. My mother was a linguist. I grew up in a multilingual household and continued my studies independently. Yet no university degree. 2 years at City College before my mother's illness required me to work full-time." Andrew nodded, making a note. Then, without warning, he switched to Mandarin. "Translate this technical specification for me. Current semiconductor applications in quantum computing." Tiana didn't hesitate, translating the complex terminology with precision. He switched to Cantonese. "Now explain the cultural implications of gift-giving in Hong Kong business contexts." Again, she responded fluently, adding nuances about generational differences in modern practices. For 20 minutes, he tested her across languages and subject matters, financial terms in Spanish, diplomatic phrasing in French, cultural faux pas to avoid with Japanese partners. Finally, he returned to English. "Impressive. Your technical vocabulary exceeds most degreed translators I've hired." "Experience is its own education," Tiana replied. "The position pays $75,000 annually." Tiana met his gaze directly. "The market rate for a multilingual consultant with my expertise is $95,000 plus benefits." A flicker of surprise crossed Andrew's face. Then something like respect. "You came prepared." "I value my skills appropriately, Mr. Lee." Andrew leaned back, reassessing. "As perhaps I should have from the beginning." The city skyline stretched beyond the windows, a landscape of possibility Tiana had almost stopped believing she could access. "When would you be available to start?" Andrew asked. "You're crazy if you don't take it," Shanice's voice came through the phone as Tiana paced her apartment. $95,000? Full benefits? That's life-changing money. Amara sat at the kitchen table, homework spread before her, pretending not to listen but catching every word. "It feels too sudden," Tiana said. "What if it doesn't work out?" "The restaurant job is reliable. The schedule works with Amara's school." "The restaurant job is a dead end with a manager who's actively pushing you out," Shanice countered. "Sometimes opportunity doesn't knock it, spills coffee, and speaks Mandarin." Tiana caught Amara's eye. Her daughter quickly looked down at her textbook. "What do you think, sunshine?" Tiana asked. Amara considered carefully. "You always tell me not to let fear stop me from growing. Isn't that what you'd be doing if you stay at the restaurant?" The wisdom in her 10-year-old's eyes brought a lump to Tiana's throat. "It would mean changes," Tiana explained. "Different hours. Maybe after-school programs for you some days. But we could stay in our apartment? Maybe get a better one?" Tiana nodded. "Eventually." "Yes." Amara returned to her homework with a shrug that wasn't casual at all. "Then it's not even a choice, Mama." After Amara went to bed, Tiana pulled out her budget spreadsheet. The numbers didn't lie. The translation job would transform their financial reality overnight. No more choosing between new school shoes and the electric bill, no more translation work at midnight after double shifts. But numbers weren't everything. She thought about Andrew Lee, his initial dismissal, his recalibration when he discovered her value. Could she trust that transformation? Did she have a choice? Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Miss? Wells, Andrew Lee here. I've reconsidered your compensation request. We'll meet your asking price of $95,000 plus comprehensive benefits. The position also includes potential quarterly bonuses based on performance. Contract will be ready tomorrow if you accept. Please confirm. Tiana stared at the message, the glow of the screen illuminating her face in the dark apartment. Sometimes the universe offered second chances disguised as difficult choices. She typed her response. I accept. Thank you for the opportunity. Then she whispered to herself, no turning back now. Tiana's reflection in the elevator's mirrored wall showed a woman she was still getting to know. Tailored charcoal suit, hair styled in a professional twist, the weight of her new company ID badge against her collarbone. The elevator doors opened to Leeway Technologies' main floor, glass and steel, dynamic lighting, people moving with purpose. Andrew's assistant greeted her. Miss? Wells, welcome to the team. Let me show you to your office. Office. Not cubicle, not shared desk. Her own space with a door and her name etched on a plaque beside it. The orientation package is on your desk, the assistant explained. It has set up your accounts. Mr. Lee would like to see you at 10 a.m. to discuss the Beijing contract. Tiana nodded, maintaining composure while her mind raced. Yesterday, she'd been carrying plates and enduring Blake's condescension. Today, people nodded respectfully as she passed. Her office overlooked the city from 30 stories up. On her desk sat a sleek computer, contract documents, and a small plant with a card. Growth begins with being planted in the right environment. Welcome. A.L. A knock at her open door revealed a woman in her 40s with a friendly smile. I'm Diane, head of international relations. I'll be your department lead. Ready for the tour? Tiana's phone buzzed with a text from Amara. Crush it, mama! Fire, fire, fire. She took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders just as she had done before every restaurant shift. But this time, instead of making herself smaller, invisible, she stood taller. I'm ready, she told Diane, stepping into her new role, her new life, ready to be seen. The Beijing team accepted our revised proposal, Andrew announced 2 weeks later, placing the signed contract on the conference table. Miss Wells's cultural adjustments to the language saved us weeks of back-and-forth negotiation. Tiana kept her expression professional, but pride warmed her chest. Her suggestions had been simple but crucial subtle changes to phrasing that showed respect rather than just stated it. The Taipei expansion is next, Andrew continued, bringing up a presentation on the screen. Tiana will lead the localization team. Diane will handle logistics. First draft due Friday. After the meeting, Tiana gathered her notes, noticing Andrew lingering by the door. A moment, Ms. Wells? They walked together toward her office. The initial awkwardness of their restaurant encounter had evolved into a cautious professional respect. Your contributions have been noticed, Andrew said. Not just by me. Mr. Zhao specifically mentioned your cultural insights in our follow-up call. Thank you. I'm glad to be helpful. I've been wondering, Andrew said, stopping at her office door. Why weren't you already working in this capacity? Your skills were clearly wasted at the restaurant. Tiana considered her answer carefully. Opportunities often depend on who sees your value, Mr. Lee, and who doesn't. Understanding crossed his face, perhaps remembering his own dismissive behavior that first day. Well, the quarterly review is coming up. Your performance metrics are excellent. Keep this trajectory and your bonus will reflect it. As he walked away, Tiana's phone buzzed with a text from Amara's school. Her daughter had won first place in the science fair with her multilingual solar system project. Later that evening, as they celebrated with takeout from a restaurant far nicer than they could have afforded a month ago, Amara asked, "Do they treat you well there, Mama? At the new job?" Tiana thought about the respect in Andrew's voice when he presented her work, the way her colleagues sought her input, the absence of the daily small humiliations she'd grown so accustomed to. "They see me," she answered simply. "They see what I can do." Amara nodded, understanding the weight of those words. "Good. Because you're brilliant." Tiana smiled. "We both are, Sunshine. We both are." The quarterly review meeting buzzed with anticipation. Executives filled the conference room, most nodding respectfully to Tiana as she took her seat. But not all. "Impressive numbers from the Asia-Pacific Initiative," CFO Raymond Voss announced, scrolling through the presentation. "Andrew, your team exceeded projections by 17%. "Credit goes to our new cultural consultant," Andrew replied. "Tiana's insights transformed our approach." Raymond's smile didn't reach his eyes. Quite the Cinderella story. From serving coffee to corporate strategy in under a month, the room temperature seemed to drop. Tiana maintained her composed expression, but she felt the barb's intention. "Results speak for themselves," Andrew said firmly. "Indeed," Raymond continued, "though I wonder if we're over-attributing success. Our company survived decades without a diversity consultant." The deliberate mischaracterization hung in the air. Diane jumped in. "Tiana's role is specialized language and cultural translation for technical content, not diversity training." "Of course," Raymond nodded insincerely. "I simply wonder about qualification pathways. Most of our team comes through traditional channels, top universities, industry experience."
"I have 9 years of translation experience,"
Tiana stated calmly. "In a restaurant," came a mutter from down the table. Victor Chen, head of product development. Andrew frowned. "Let's focus on results, not backgrounds." But the dynamic had shifted. Tiana recognized the pattern success threatening established hierarchies. Different setting, same resistance. After the meeting, Diane caught up with her in the hallway. "Don't let them get to you," she said quietly. "Raymond and Victor were college roommates." "Old guard. They'll adjust or become irrelevant." "I'm used to proving myself," Tiana replied. Back in her office, an email arrived from Victor. "Please review attached technical specifications before tomorrow's Japanese client call. Expecting your cultural insights, given your unique background." The condescension was clear, but so was the challenge. The documents were highly technical, filled with specialized terminology most translators would struggle with. Tiana straightened her shoulders, the same way she had when facing difficult customers or dismissive managers. She opened the document and began working. When she sent her annotated version back 3 hours later, her email contained just one line: "Corrections and cultural contexts attached. Let me know if you need clarification on any points." Expertise was its own defense. "We have a situation." Andrew strode into Tiana's office without knocking. "The Osaka deal is falling apart." Tiana looked up from her screen. "What happened?" "They're claiming we misrepresented technical specifications. VP Chen handled the call this morning while you were at your daughter's school event." Cold spread through Tiana's chest. The Osaka partnership represented a $30 million investment. Her approved absence for Amara's honors ceremony suddenly felt like a vulnerability. "Victor didn't bring me in as planned?" Andrew's expression tightened. "He said he handled it, clearly not well." Tiana pulled up the project files. "What exactly did they say?" "Something about component tolerances being disrespectfully low for their expectations. They're threatening to walk." The phrasing caught Tiana's attention. Those exact words. Disrespectfully low? Andrew nodded, checking his phone. Emergency meeting in 20 minutes. Finance, legal, and executive team only. The exclusion was clear. Despite her role in developing the proposal, she wasn't invited. I should be there, Tiana said. This sounds like a cultural misunderstanding, not a technical one. Victor insists it's a specifications issue. He's pulling in engineering. After Andrew left, Tiana reviewed the Japanese correspondence carefully. The issue wasn't in the numbers, but the presentation. In Japanese business culture, offering minimum specifications first was considered disrespectful, implying you thought the partner would accept less than excellence. She drafted a quick analysis and sent it to Andrew, then waited for a response that didn't come. Through her office glass, she could see executives rushing toward the conference room. Raymond, Victor, finance leads, legal team. Diane caught her eye briefly with an apologetic glance but continued past. Tiana's phone buzzed with a text from Amara. Thanks for coming today, Mama. My teacher said my project was the best. Pride mixed with anxiety as Tiana stared at the message. Her new life felt suddenly precarious. The old pattern emerging success followed by exclusion. Visibility followed by erasure. Her office phone rang. Andrew's assistant, voice tight. The Tokyo team is calling back in 15 minutes. They're requesting their original contact. Me? Yes. Mr. Lee asks if you can join the conference room immediately. Decision time. Tiana stood outside the conference room, hearing raised voices through the door. We can't restructure the entire proposal in 15 minutes. Victor's voice. Then prepare for a $30 million write-down, Raymond replied. Tiana thought of Amara's proud face that morning, showing off her science project. Thought of the new apartment they'd just signed a lease for. The tuition savings account she'd finally opened. She thought of Blake's dismissive tone at the restaurant, of customers who never looked her in the eye, of all the moments she'd made herself smaller to fit other people's expectations. Her hand rested on the door handle. Push or retreat? Amara's voice echoed in her mind. You always tell me not to let fear stop me from growing. Tiana opened the door. The conversation halted. Every head turned. Andrew looked surprised but relieved. Victor's expression darkened. Miss Wells, this is a closed meeting, Raymond said. Tiana stood her ground. I know why the Osaka team is upset, and it's not about specifications. Victor scoffed. I've been handling Asian markets for a decade. Then you should know that in Japanese business culture, leading with minimum viable specifications is considered disrespectful, Tiana interrupted. It suggests you believe they would accept mediocrity. The room fell silent. They're not rejecting our technology, she continued. They're rejecting how it was presented. We need to reframe the conversation around optimal performance targets, not minimum requirements. Andrew studied her face. You're certain? I am. And I should lead the call. They specifically requested their original contact. Victor stood. This is absurd. We can't let a waitress handle a $30 million negotiation. The slur hung in the air. Tiana felt a familiar heat rise in her face, but she kept her voice steady. I was a waitress, Mr. Chen. One who speaks 5 languages and understands cultural nuances you've clearly missed. The question isn't whether my previous job disqualifies me. It's whether your prejudice is worth $30 million. The conference phone rang, cutting through the tension. Tokyo was calling. Andrew reached for the speaker button, then looked at Tiana. Your call. She moved to the head of the table, straightening her shoulders. Moshi Moshi, she began, her Japanese warm and respectful. Thank you for your patience. The executives watched in silence as Tiana guided the conversation with Osaka Technologies. She bowed slightly toward the screen, though the call was audio only, a physical manifestation of respect that influenced her tone. We deeply value your attention to excellence, she said in Japanese. Your concern about our specifications reveals your commitment to quality, which we share. She smoothly transitioned to the real issue. Our documentation emphasized minimum requirements for transparency, but our design targets exceed industry standards by 40%. Allow me to share our optimal performance. We deeply value your attention to excellence, she said in Japanese. Your concern about our specifications reveals your commitment to quality, which we share. She smoothly transitioned to the real issue. Our documentation emphasized minimum requirements for transparency, but our design targets exceed industry standards by 40%. Allow me to share our optimal performance framework instead. Andrew slid the revised numbers toward her. Tiana glanced at them, then continued without missing a beat. The quantum processing architecture achieves stability at levels designed specifically for integration with your Hikari system. We would never offer anything less than excellence to a partner of your caliber. The tension in the Japanese executives' voices gradually eased. Questions shifted from confrontational to collaborative. When they requested specific cultural accommodations for the Tokyo rollout, Tiana didn't hesitate. We've already incorporated traditional launch protocols into our timeline, including the proper seasonal considerations for a spring announcement. This detail, which hadn't been in any official documentation, clearly impressed the Osaka team. Well-san understands our concerns, came the lead negotiator's voice. We appreciate this clarification. By the call's end, not only had the crisis been averted, but the Japanese team had requested an accelerated timeline, a sign of reinforced trust. As Tiana ended the call, the room remained silent. Victor stared at the table. Raymond looked thoughtful. Andrew's expression shifted from relief to something like genuine respect. That, he said finally, is why backgrounds and degrees matter less than actual expertise. Diane smiled openly. And why listening to the right voices is good business. Tiana gathered her notes calmly, though her heart raced with vindication. Shall I draft the revised timeline for approval? The next 3 days blurred into an intense push to revise the Osaka partnership documents. Tiana moved between her office and the conference room, translating technical specifications into culturally resonant language, checking details with engineers, refining protocols. At midnight on the 3rd day, she sat alone in the empty office, reviewing the final draft. The city lights glittered below, a constellation of human ambition. Her phone buzzed with a text from Shanice, who was watching Amara. She's asleep. Said to tell you ganbate before she crashed. That means good luck, right? Tiana smiled tiredly. It means do your best in Japanese. Tell her I am. The office door opened. Andrew entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. I thought you might need this, he said, placing one beside her. The Tokyo team wants a final call at 1 a.m. our time. Tiana accepted the coffee, a simple courtesy he wouldn't have considered a month ago. We're ready, she assured him. The revisions address their concerns while maintaining our interests. I've been reviewing your notes, Andrew said, taking a seat. The cultural context document you created. It's remarkably comprehensive. Understanding people's values is as important as understanding their words, Tiana replied. At exactly 1 a.m., the call connected. Tiana led the conversation, guiding both teams through potential sticking points with practiced ease. When the Osaka CEO himself joined unexpectedly, she shifted her language to accommodate his more traditional preferences without missing a beat. By 2:30 a.m., they had agreement on all points. Congratulations, Andrew said as they left the building together. You just saved a partnership worth more than most people will earn in a lifetime. Tiana nodded, too exhausted for false modesty. We did good work tonight. You did extraordinary work, Andrew corrected. There's a difference. Morning sunlight streamed through Tiana's office windows when Andrew knocked on her doorframe the next day. The Osaka contracts are signed, he announced. The legal team said it's the smoothest international agreement they've processed in years. Tiana looked up from her computer, where she'd been reviewing the Shanghai project. That's excellent news. Andrew closed the door and sat down, a rare gesture indicating a private conversation. I owe you an apology, he said without preamble. Tiana waited, letting the moment unfold at his pace. When we first met at the restaurant, Andrew continued, I treated you as invisible, beneath notice. Most customers do, Tiana said simply. That doesn't make it right. Andrew leaned forward, genuine regret in his expression. I spilled that coffee. It wasn't your fault. The admission surprised her. Thank you for acknowledging that. What's worse is I nearly missed recognizing extraordinary talent because I couldn't see past my own preconceptions. He shook his head. How many others have I overlooked? Many, Tiana said honestly. We all have blind spots. The question is whether we're willing to correct them when they're revealed. Andrew nodded slowly. When you spoke Chinese that day, it forced me to recalibrate. But I've been thinking, why should it take something so dramatic for me to see people clearly? Systems of invisibility are comfortable for those they benefit, Tiana said, until they become costly. $30 million costly, Andrew acknowledged with a wry smile. He stood, straightening his jacket. The executive committee meets next week to discuss quarterly promotions and reorganization. I'd like to propose a new position, Vice President of Global Communications and Cultural Strategy. Tiana's breath caught. That's a significant step up. For someone who saved a $30 million deal, it's appropriate recognition. Andrew moved toward the door, then paused. Your daughter Amara, right? How's she adjusting to your new schedule? She's proud, Tiana said, warmth filling her voice. It matters what children see possible. Andrew nodded. Indeed it does. My father was a janitor at the university where I eventually got my MBA. He never lived to see it, but his invisibility taught me to be visible. He smiled slightly. At least I thought it did. The shared vulnerability lingered in the air between them. Not quite friendship, but a bridge built on newfound mutual respect. The quarterly all-hands meeting filled the company auditorium. Tiana sat with Diane's team, conscious of glances and whispers. Word of the Osaka rescue had spread throughout the company. Andrew took the stage, moving through standard updates, financial results, project milestones, upcoming initiatives. Then he paused, scanning the audience. Before we conclude, I want to highlight an extraordinary contribution that exemplifies the talent we seek to nurture at Leeway Technologies. The screen behind him changed to show the Osaka partnership details. 3 weeks ago, this $30 million partnership was on the verge of collapse. Cultural misunderstandings threatened a year of technical development. He gestured toward Tiana's section. Tiana Wells identified the problem, stepped in during a critical moment, and not only saved the deal, but strengthened our position. Applause rippled through the room. Tiana maintained her composure, though her heart raced. This incident revealed something important, Andrew continued. Talent exists in unexpected places when we're willing to see it. Miss Wells joined us just 6 weeks ago from a very different professional background, yet her expertise has already transformed our Asian market strategy. Victor shifted uncomfortably in his front row seat. Today, I'm pleased to announce the creation of a new executive position, Vice President of Global Communications and Cultural Strategy. Murmurs spread through the audience. This role will ensure cultural intelligence informs every level of our international business. And I can think of no better person to inaugurate this position than the woman who demonstrated its value so effectively. Andrew looked directly at Tiana. Miss Wells, would you join me on stage? The applause grew as Tiana made her way forward, conscious of her measured steps, her straight posture, her professional smile that revealed just enough genuine emotion. Standing beside Andrew, facing hundreds of colleagues, she thought of all the times she'd been invisible, all the rooms where her voice had gone unheard, all the talent that had remained unseen. "Thank you for this recognition," she said, her voice steady. "I'm honored to accept this role and the responsibility it represents." As the applause continued, she caught Diane's encouraging smile, Raymond's thoughtful nod, even Victor's reluctant acknowledgement. For perhaps the first time in her professional life, Tiana Wells was not just seen, she was celebrated. "Did you see this?" Shanice thrust her phone toward Blake as they set up the restaurant for the lunch rush. The local business journal's headline glowed on the screen. Leeway Technologies appoints former server as new VP after $1 million deal save. Blake squinted at the image of Tiana in a professional headshot, looking confident and authoritative. "That can't be right." "Oh, it's right," Shanice said, satisfaction evident in her voice. "Our girl is an executive now, oversees their entire international communication strategy." The article detailed Tiana's linguistic expertise and her critical role in saving the Osaka partnership, specifically mentioning her discovery at Le Château Bleu. Other servers gathered around, reading over Shanice's shoulder. "Damn," whispered Miguel, who'd worked alongside Tiana for years. "She always helped me with Spanish translations for special orders. Never realized she knew 5 languages." Blake retreated to his office without comment, the implications clear on his face. A talent he had systematically undervalued was now being celebrated publicly and directly connected to his restaurant. Across town, in the maintenance department of Leeway Technologies, Luis Morales read the same article during his lunch break. A Mexican immigrant with an engineering degree that wasn't recognized in the U.S., he had spent 7 years keeping the building's systems running while his technical knowledge remained untapped. "Hey," his colleague said, noticing the article. "Isn't that the VP who always says good morning to you in Spanish?" Luis nodded slowly, something shifting in his perspective. Yes, it is. At the end of the day, he stopped by HR to inquire about the company's educational assistance program. In Andrew's office, the board chair finished reviewing the quarterly numbers. "The Osaka deal saved our fiscal year, and this new VP position bold move, but the market likes it. Our inclusion metrics just got a boost too." Andrew gazed out the window. "It's not about metrics. It's about recognizing that talent doesn't always come in expected packages." "Speaking of which," the chair continued, "that janitor you mentioned, Luis? His manager says he submitted an application for the engineering development program, claims he can improve our cooling system efficiency by 20%. Andrew turned, interest piqued. "Is that so?" "Set up a meeting." At Le Château Bleu, Shanice served a young woman who noticed her watching the business news on the bar television. "That story's amazing," the customer said, gesturing to Tiana's feature. "Makes you wonder how many other people have hidden talents we never see." Shanice smiled, thinking of her own abandoned accounting degree. "More than you'd imagine." She pulled out her phone during her break, looking up the local community college's night program. Sometimes inspiration came from unexpected sources. Sometimes seeing someone else become visible helped you see yourself clearly again. 3 months later, Tiana stood in the doorway of their new apartment, watching Amara arrange her books on built-in shelves that stretched from floor to ceiling. Sunlight streamed through windows that overlooked a small park instead of a brick wall. "What do you think of your new study space?" Tiana asked. Amara spun in a circle, arms outstretched. "It's perfect. I can see the trees while I work. Textbooks in 4 languages lined the shelves, Amara's growing collection reflecting her own multilingual journey. A framed photo showed her accepting a citywide language competition trophy, Tiana standing proudly beside her. "Mama, can you help me with these Japanese characters? For my thank you note to Mr. Lee for the books." They sat together at the desk, Tiana guiding Amara's brush strokes, the careful discipline of language, the precision of communication. You know, Tiana said, watching her daughter's focused expression, when I was your age, people often asked why I bothered learning so many languages. What did you tell them? That languages are bridges to worlds others can't see. Tiana smiled. But I think I was wrong about one thing. What's that? I thought the languages would make others see me. But really, they helped me see myself clearly first. Amara nodded thoughtfully. And now others see you too. Yes, Tiana said softly. Now they do. Andrew stood at the podium, the International Business Conference audience attentive as he concluded his keynote speech. 6 months ago, a chance encounter forced me to confront my own blindness to talent, he said, glancing at Tiana in the front row. A woman I had dismissed as just a server saved my company $30 million because she possessed skills I never bothered to discover. He paused, letting the implications settle. Since implementing our Hidden Talent initiative, we've discovered 3 engineers working in maintenance, a gifted graphic designer in accounting, and a former literature professor working in our call center. Our innovation metrics have increased 40%. Employee retention has improved by 35%. The audience shifted, executives exchanging glances, taking notes. The most expensive words in business aren't, "we made a mistake." They're, "we failed to see what was right in front of us." Andrew gestured to the diverse executive team seated in the front row, Tiana among them. Look around your organization today. Who isn't being seen? What talents remain hidden because you never created the conditions for them to emerge? What value are you leaving on the table because of your own limited vision? He let the question hang in the air. The competitive edge of the future belongs to those who see the unseen. The question is, will that be you? If this story moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Every day, talented people go unnoticed and undervalued. By hitting that like button and subscribing to Beat Stories, you're helping these powerful narratives reach those who need them most. Did you recognize yourself in Tiana's journey? Or perhaps someone you know? Share this video with them. It might be the spark they need to step into their own power. New empowering stories drop every week. Subscribe now and turn on notifications so you never miss the chance to be inspired. Because at Beat Stories, we believe everyone deserves to be seen. Like, subscribe, share. Let's change how the world sees talent one story at a time.
You've seen the story. Now what will you do with it? At Beat Stories, we believe reflection is good, but action is better. Subscribe, share, speak, because awareness is only the first step.